Welcome back one and all, my name is Eltimar and we are going to be continuing our Let's Play of Torment Tides of Numenera. Where we left off last time, we had entered the Crystalline Cavern. This is a new area, and we're going to grab some loot apparently. Right off the bat we found some hyper-relutricated force. Hyper-relutricated force. Yes, it heals might. That is quite the word though.
Don't mind if I do.
And more crystals, yes, very important. For reasons that I'm sure will become clear. Looks like a safe box of some sort, which has a Thinker's Cap, which is a really nice item actually. It adds +1 intelligence edge, which I think we're going to throw on our person. It's actually really good for us. Intellect edge is pretty important. Perception, not so much. Although being amused to dazed and blinded is also kind of nice, but we don't really care too much about that. We're actually going to swap these two around, I think. No, we're not. So we're going to lose 2 to our intellect pool, which does suck, but we get an extra intellect edge, and that's pretty good. Also, we have a level.
Yes.
We should probably do that. We could also increase our intellect edge again. Now we are at 5 intellect edge, which means our intellect is pretty staggering. There's a lot of things in this chamber. There's a wall of some sort, an impenetrable field of energy seals off this part of the cage. There's also what looks like to be like a pair of crystals. This device seems to be the source of the low hum that permeates the cavern. It's receiving power through thick cables from 2 large machines against the wall.
Happy to help.
There's something over here. The stasis pod is dull and lifeless. There's no visible way to activate it. Okay.
Of course.
This machine is similar to the one next to it, but doesn't have any sort of interface or control panel. A phobot appears to be trapped in the central crystal. It flickers excitedly.
Absolutely.
Let's talk to this thing. All of the cables in the room connect to this bulky machine and its twin. They generate a low rumble that you can feel in your feet. As you approach, the screen lights up. A strange maze-like rune flashes angrily in the center of the screen. 3 other glyphs revolve slowly around it in an elliptical orbit, and a bolt of lightning, a set of parallel lines, and a circle. Let's touch the maze one, I guess. A picture appears. It looks like a technical schematic of the device behind you. At the center of the room, the source of the low hum. Vertical lines of runes appear next to the schematic, but you can't read them. Let's try and do that anyways. I would like to know what they are before I poke things. Although you can't read the runes, the gist of the message becomes clear. It's a warning about the device with the 2 crystals at the center of the chamber. The device has deteriorated to an unstable state. Any fluctuation in power is likely to result in an interruption in function. The runes do not say what will happen if the device ceases to function, or if they do, you cannot decipher it. Let's go to the next part. I'm going to step away from the machine and quick save.
On it.
Parallel lines, let's try that one. An image appears of the pod in the far corner of the room. The image of the pod is dim. A circular symbol lies next to the image. Press it. Both the symbol and the pod light up on the screen. The circular symbol pulses in time with odd symbols that march into the image of the pod itself. In the far corner of the room, new noises indicate that the pod is now receiving power. Alright, well let's go take that. Look at that.
Yes.
That's something new. We didn't blow up this machine yet, so win-win. Rings of energy pulse through the stasis pod. There appears to be nothing inside of it, but a control interface hovers a few centimeters off the surface at one end of the pod. Surprisingly, the words of the interface are written in the truth, and you can understand them. There are several options, but most of them are dimmed out. The only 2 functioning options are check status and access data. Check the data out. A list of records appear. Several of them are crossed out with the word corrupted next to them. Most of the functioning records are mundane, like systems integrity results or lists of lab equipment, but there are a number of functioning dated records labeled experiment notes. Let's look at the first one. An unfamiliar voice reverberates throughout the room. Preliminary investigation suggests that Mazov was correct. The crystals of the Ascension bear the properties we required to complete the resonance chamber. The analyte proved invaluable in reaching this place, and may have other uses besides, so it will be some time before I can return it to Dracogen. Much more experimentation is required before I can know for certain whether the Ascension holds what I seek. What's the second one? The secretions of the crystalvore are one of the few substances I found that can eat through the living crystal of the Ascension. I've had several larvae brought here for that purpose. Dracogen exudes patience with regards for the analyte, but I've dealt with other Dracogens before. He will only remain patient for so long before he decides that I have cheated him. No matter, I fear the sorrow more than I fear them. I have several experiments running simultaneously while I wait for the crystal to grow. True to their name, the crystalvores have proven quite adaptable to this environment and are invaluable to this part of the process. The Ascension natives may prove useful as well. I had ignored them initially, for although their speaker is capable of cognate communication, it has proven useless in providing any real information. However, I have since seen other natives accomplishing some more remarkable feats with the crystal itself, so I captured one for study. We shall see if there's more I can learn from it. Oops, that's the third one. Number 4. Several of the crystalvore larvae hatched prematurely and escaped. It's unclear how it happened, but I suspect that someone came looking for the analyte while I was buying supplies in Sagiss. No doubt they tampered with my machines in their efforts to find it. He sighs. To prevent further sabotage, I have placed the analyte and the remaining larvae behind an energy field. The power generator can open the field, but now it requires a passcode sequence to ensure there is no further tampering. I am not foolish enough to record that sequence here, but should something happen to me, such that I forget, the 3 geodesics through the barycenter are the key. The voice says nothing more. If that was supposed to be a hint, its meaning is unclear. Perhaps it would make more sense when looking at the power generator itself. Let's do the 5th one. The escaped crystalvores are growing and breeding. They now constitute a serious threat to my work. He pauses. I built a device to emit sound waves at a very specific frequency, lulling the creatures into dormancy. So far, it appears to be an effective countermeasure, but I shall have to keep careful watch to be sure. I must also make sure that the power generator does not experience any interruptions lest they wake again. Number 6. The voice speaks between ragged breaths. This will be my last entry. Dracogen's patience has worn thin, as I knew it would. His agents are outside and will no doubt break through my defenses momentarily. If they do, I'll have to abandon this body. I don't know when I'll be able to return, but I am. The voice cuts off. There's no more of this entry. 7th note. The voice on this entry is the same as all the other entries, but it has none of the confidence from before. I don't know what's happening. I woke in this cave surrounded by angry men demanding something called an analyte. I don't know what it is, but they attacked me. I don't know what to do, so I fought back. I killed them. The blood, it's everywhere. Some of it's mine, but most of it... I found these notes afterwards, when I was trying to figure out what was happening to me. I couldn't figure out how to retrieve the analyte, but these men were sent by someone called the Dracogen. I don't know what any of this means. I'm going to find out, but I'm leaving this message in case I don't make it back. I don't know who will listen, but, well, I figured I should leave something of me here, somewhere, in case I don't get very far. Records done. Let's do the status button. A picture of the pod appears, the lid on the image is closed and flashing red. Several other places on the image of the pod flash red as well. The text says, Stasis pod empty, error, self-diagnostic failed, cannot open stasis pod, primary functions offline, data integrity 67%. It's not a very good percentage. Let's go take a look at this thing now. Okay, I'm going to use lore, natural, and amnesis. I'm going to try to figure out the key to unlocking the force field based on the clue from the experiment notes. And we have lots and lots of edge in terms of our intelligence, so I'm not too worried. The 3 geodesics through the barycenter are the key. Watching the glyphs revolve around the central rune, the meaning suddenly becomes clear. The symbols increase and decrease in size as they move around the rune, traveling more quickly when they come close to it and slower when they're further away. They aren't revolving, they're orbiting, and the rune is the barycenter. The definition of geodesic rises from the depths of your mind as well. It means a great circle track, the shortest line between 2 points on a sphere. On a hunch, you draw a line from each of the 3 symbols to the others, curving the line through the rune in the center. The symbols stop orbiting, lines appear where your finger drags across this interface. Soon you have the 3 curved lines connecting each of the symbols. 3 geodesics through the same barycenter. The interface disappears, replaced by an image of some kind of field projector. Triumphant, you cut the power to the projector. Across the cavern, the force field deactivates.
No.
Alright. Problem solved. Let's go loot some things.
Yes. Now.
What is this? This is Hero's Fury. It's a cipher. Deals a boatload of energy damage, but just once. And we probably have... Oh no, we don't have any poisoning. Who's wearing that now? Oh, it's Tiber. That's fine.
Alright.
And we found the Devouring Shell, which is also a cipher, and gives shell armor.
Are killing me.
Give it to Matkina. Good enough for now.
Yes.
Alright, let's
Now.
poke this thing. What is this? Nestled among the crystal formations is a steel pod. Cables pass in and out of the pod, glowing with energy. As soon as you're within arm's reach, a shining interface materializes in the air between you and the pod. There are a few strange symbols arranged in a circle around the filigreed pentagon, similar to the tattoo on your head. Such a tattoo. As you draw closer, the filigreed pentagon glows more brightly. Your head becomes warm, but not uncomfortably so. When it touches the light, you feel a small amount of energy flow out of you. The cables on the pod pulse quickly, and the top of the chamber opens with a hiss. The only item inside is a hyaline circlet, as black as the sky between the stars. The magnetic analyte. You remove it from the pod and take it with you.
I'll remember that.
The chamber hisses shut, and the interface vanishes.
Fine.
Alright, I guess that's what we came here for. Let's save in case anything weird happens. And we are out.
Yes.
That's a lot of people waiting by that portal. I have a feeling that they're not super duper happy with me.
Why not?
Why not indeed? Let's go try this out. Also, I'm noticing a slight frame rate drop there. That was weird. We're back up to normal, but that was an odd little spike.
Happy to help.
Hello, Doran. Doran bars your path with a slight confident smile. Greetings again, Cast-Off. Whatever you did in that cave has caught the Changing God's attention. He knows you're here now, and he has asked me to destroy your mind. His smile broadens. Do not resist. Suddenly, his pupils slide out of view, not up, but sideways, as abruptly as if they're being slapped. Yes, he says in the same casual tone. Of course, it won't be long now. His pupils return from the opposite side. You said you weren't really a prophet. He shrugs. I lied. Your father speaks to me, he says, pointing at a tiny device at the base of his skull, too small to have noticed before. He has told me that he has need of your body, and I have learned over the years to trust what he says. A hint of sorrow touches his eyes. It's time to return your father's property, Cast-Off. I'm going to intimidate. I'll give you one chance to run. Just one. Be smart. His complaints as he drains in the face of your threat. His eyes pop open wide. His hands fly instinctively to his ears as though someone were shouting at him. Wait, yes, I'm sorry, this is a mistake. I'm not strong enough, I don't want to
I'm ready to become even more
There is a
heroic.
high-pitched keening. Doran clutches the device at the back of his skull as though it were hurting him. He groans, swaying. With a soggy crump, his head bursts. With a single horrified glance at their fallen prophet, his followers flee. His head just exploded. Just straight up. Boom. That was awesome. And you know, bad. He's wearing something called the Gauntlet of Murder. Seriously? And an ossified trifolium. Trifolium. That's what it is. And we got a bunch of levels. So, let's do Eridus first. He's getting an extra effort, and he's getting Crescendo. When he lands a critical hit, he gets +3 damage to his attacks for the rest of the crisis. It stacks, increasing with each critical hit, so he can become pretty damn good. Let's drink to the dregs. Max +1 effort on attack. Ignores flanked Fettle. I can pull things towards me. Opportunist and counterattack attacks end the target's turn on hit. Max effort +1 on attacks might actually be quite good. Let's do that. We're going to take melee weapons up again. Now he is really good with his runic blade of Tul Denor, which is a damn good weapon. It was expensive too. It better be good for what it cost me.
Quite a fighter in your day.
Let's increase her ability or skill. Ability. So she can do warp dash, analytic attack. And morodic field. No, let's go with warp dash, I think. Sounds good to me. And finally, Tiber actually gained a level, so maybe he will be less useless, and we're going to give it Might Edge because his weapon uses might.
All right.
I'm hoping that we'll find a different character to use. Tiber is okay. Maybe we should swap him out for somebody else. I don't know. Well, that's not a good sign. The portal to Surgeon's Slump is gone. All that remains is a hideous scar. I guess we gotta talk to the tongue thing. Probably. As you approach, the voices of the bloom begin to click and buzz in your ears, making your fingers twitch and setting your teeth on edge. You catch yourself reaching instinctively for the magmatic analyte, as if it's something you've done many times before. Let's touch it. You grasp the crystalline artifact. At once, the voices of the bloom grow louder and louder still. They fill your consciousness, drowning out your thoughts, hissing and whispering and chittering and buzzing. They're coming from every direction, from above and below, from nearby and far away. Swaying on your feet, you nearly topple to the floor. Kina grabs a hold of your arm to prevent you from falling. What's wrong with you? Her eyes are wide and confused. You shake your head, unable to respond, caught up in the torrent of maddening sounds. Slowly, the bloom voices resolve themselves into their constituent parts, but now they carry sense impressions with them. Hunger, curiosity, desire. Each burst of the bloom voices evokes a new impression in your mind. For a moment, you let go of the analyte, and the sense impressions are gone. The voices are nothing but a meaningless babble. Then you touch the analyte again, and the sense impressions return. You realize that the magmatic analyte is a translator of sorts, though the limits and scope of its power are uncertain. Let's try and communicate. Relaxing your mind, you allow the whisperings of the bloom tongues to penetrate your thoughts. Memories rise into your consciousness, trivial moments you thought you had forgotten. Just as you recognize them, they are swept away. The bloom tongues are sifting through your memories, looking for something. The voices dig deeper into your unconscious. What seemed harmless at first becomes irritating. A dull ache blossoms in the back of your head, spreading across your skull and down your spine. The pain comes in waves, as if the bloom is trying to wrench a memory out of your brain. Let's allow it for now. Dimly, you are aware of the bloom's presence in your mind, pulling at a memory hidden deep in your unconscious, like a stubborn tooth that refuses to be torn out. With a final gout of searing agony, the memory bursts into your conscious mind. You stand under a blazing purple sun that was never of the ninth world, you know. Your body sits heavy on you, unfamiliar muscles rippling as you move, and move you must. As your boots lose their propulsive power, you must scramble at the sheer rock face for the extra boost, pulling yourself up with your battered hands, trying to reach the eye socket of the mountain-sized statue. You laugh madly, and you can feel your consciousness straining to leave this shell. You gain the safety of the carven eye. You look below to see your pursuers swarming up the cliff. You are defiling their holy ground, and they mean to make you pay in blood. Their lamprey mouths, their many arms, and the needle-capped suckers on their hands all suggest that they are more than capable of taking it. Except as they come, you hold your hand above them and curl it like a fist. The air coalesces into an acid shower that rains down on them. Their screams are like an opera. The memory ends, slipped from your mind like sugary nectar. You remember witnessing it, yet the memory itself, the collection of sensory impressions that was actually experienced by the changing god, is gone, devoured by the bloom. The bloom tugs sang drunkenly against each other, as if the feast has made them languid and confused. Let's take control. You reach across the barrier that separates your consciousness from that of the tongues, a barrier now made permeable by the analyte. Tentatively, you begin to direct the motions of the tongues. It's a strange sensation, like having another set of limbs, but they respond to your impulses. Belatedly, the tongues try to resist, but with a bit of concentration, you quiet them like errant thoughts. These tongues, you realize, are a tiny locus of the bloom's consciousness. Their roots extend throughout the trade post, and now so do your thoughts and commands. Let's move the trade post back. You close your eyes and relax your mind, probing the limits of your new senses. The roots of the bloom tongues run through the trade post, but they also extend some distance into the surrounding flesh. A few of them trail upwards, tracing a path towards an open cavity in the outer reaches of the bloom. Steeling yourself, you take hold of all the tendrils at once, urging them back along that path, clawing their way towards the surface and dragging the trade post after them. The ground buckles and churns beneath your feet, and the whole chamber begins to move. At last you open your eyes, and the shaking subsides. The block archway is opening. You hear astonished voices outside. Their energy spent, the bloom tongues recede into the ground. So we move the trade post back. There's no one alive here, but you know, it worked out, sorta. Not for the best, maybe, but it did sorta work out. We'll call it problem solved. As you emerge from the trade post, you hear a sharp intake of breath. Two merchants, a fat human and a sickly-looking Vargellan, are staring at you in amazement. The great jaw and the teeth, they're gone. The portly human beams at you. Was this your doing? If it was, you have our deepest thanks. But we are no better off, the Vargellan points out. Our wagon is still supper for the bloom thing. Quite right, the human frowns, but it's still damned impressive. I thought the bloom only answered to the Memovira. Where is she when we needed her help, huh? Sure.
Fair enough.
Let's go talk to the Dracogen. We have his Analyt, which I don't really want to give him because he is not a nice person. In not so many words. But that's okay. We'll see what he wants. Long loading screen. Oh, my battery. Hang on one sec. My apologies. Apparently my dog kicked the power button on my power bar. Which is weird, or hit it with his nose actually, because it's technically mounted against the wall. But it's too far for my feet to reach. However, it is not too far for his nose to reach.
Consider it done.
That damn dog. Alright, Dracogen, let's talk to him. That's what we were doing. Well, Castoff, what news have you? Have you managed to drain the cortex, or are you ready to surrender the Analyt? Would you accept the cortex that we discussed? You know what? Let's give him the Analyt. He holds it up to the light, turning and admiring the Analyt's cunning design. A wide smile on his face, he says, "Can you feel the power of this thing? It twists and curls, and snares the secret places of the world. This will do nicely. Oh yes." He places it in a flat pouch at his hip, and no shape distorts the pouch, as if it were merely a gateway to some larger place. This concludes your part of the transaction. Let me honor mine. Come with me. You know what? Hang on, before we go anywhere, I don't really want to go with him yet. I want to go back to the anchorage first and see if we can lead him into a trap for the cortex. This way, draw any weapons and you'll die in short order. We're gonna come back here. I just want to... No, let me just... Hang on. Stop. Okay, we're not gonna do this conversation. I'm just gonna... We're not gonna do this.
I'll remember that.
Okay. I need to reload a little. Oh, come on, don't make me walk. I just want to reload for like 2 seconds. Stop with your structured events. Okay. Let us load the autosave for this one. I think. Yes. Let's go quickly talk to the other people. Maybe we can lead him into a trap or something along those lines. We need to go this way.
Ready.
Because I do want to finish that helmet quest. We do get 100 experience again for completing this quest, so we're going to get a bunch of levels for these sort of major storyline things that are going on.
Of course.
So much trash in this place. It's kind of... it must stink down there. I can only imagine the smell of, like, a giant garbage heap.
I'm ready. I'm always ready. I'm ready.
Can we go talk to any of the other Lascar? Maybe get a quest to
Let's go.
trap Dracogen. There's Richie. We helped her get here.
Why not?
I mean, we could probably just go in. How hard could it be? The door is made of some unfamiliar shining metal. It's been polished to a mirror-like sheen. A magnetic strip of another duller metal has a strange runic script scrawled across its surface. It looks like an instruction regarding the door. On trying the door, you discover that the message must be, "This door is stuck," or something equivalent. You might be able to force the door open, but it won't be easy. Let's just save and just say this as, "This could go poorly." There we go. Eridus, open this door. Some mechanism within the door seems to be stuck, but you manage to overcome its resistance. You hear something crack, and then the door slides open, grinding a bit as it does. That's a lot of stuff in there, including a cipher. We have minor cipher sickness. Give this to Eridus, I guess. We have to go through our ciphers
To
again.
action!
This heavy door is sealed shut. It's the only thing that stands between you and the void. Well, let's let that stay shut then.
You want it done right.
Let's talk to Arechi and see if she'll help us get into the cipher. Nope.
If you want a job done right,
Pilot Major Genjis. I'm guessing that's where the Cortex is. Cerebro. That's where Cerebro is. Ori stamps the lines on the features of this man. Like the others in the anchorage, he wears a suit of ornate armor, but he has set aside his helmet. His hair is thinning and wrinkles web around his eyes and across his forehead. He is tinkering with some display, but he turns away from it to address you. Greetings, I am Genjis, pilot major of this anchorage. I found this Lascar helm in the bloom. Did that helm belong to Jemadar Achille? He snatches it from your hands and studies it carefully. Void, take it. I hope she still survived. His accent grows thicker. With emotion, please, show Janur. Find out what Achille discovered. Make life count. Well, I need to get into the thing first, so I'm just gonna open the door. Though multiple well-polished locks line the edges, you can't help but noticing that this door isn't quite as thick as the others you've seen here, and a soft buzzing hum rises from within it. A complex control panel, or possibly another lock, is in the wall beside the door. The buttons are marked with symbols you don't understand, and the lights behind them flicker like a candle.
Dated my journal.
Do not touch the door, please. The Cortex chamber is not for Outworlders. We won't be getting in there so long as he's around. We have to distract him somehow. Yes, you must go somewhere. What do you do here? I serve, Outworlder. I'm the keeper of the navigational cortex, its servant. I watch the sensors, I listen to its words, information from antenna array filters in here. All knowledge of the anchorage passes through the cortex. If I fail my duties, the ship might arrive without my foreknowledge, so I clean, I listen, and I study. If the ship should come in my life, and I believe it may, I will take its mind in mind, and we will plot a course for home. What's the cortex? What is the cortex? He opens his mouth and shuts it quickly. I almost speak too fast. It's the watcher of the void. It is the keeper of our history. It knows the night skies of a million worlds. It holds our traditions and tells us how to live in accordance with old crews. It keeps us alive, maintains the anchorage. He bows his head in reverence. It alone is the voice of truth. Never has it been wrong. It does all of that, he says, whistling. Sounds incredibly... What's the word I'm thinking of? Valuable. Tell me about your people. He wipes a cloth across a clear glass eye and glances at you. You have spoken with some, yes? We have lived here long. Many captains past we discovered we would have to wait for the ship to come. Until that time, until the arrival, we survive. We wait and we train. Tell me about the anchorage. It is many things to us, he says, his brow wrinkling. A home, a reminder of who we once were, and a promise. No, a prophecy. No. He trails off, clicking his tongue, then brightens. Can show you the anchorage instead of just telling you about it. Can I give you a tour? Yes? What a wonderful idea, Makina says in your ear. That'll take him away from the Cortex door. I'd like that. He smiles widely, spreading his hands. Of course, follow me. You have already seen the elevator room. You will now see the observation deck where we watch for the coming ship, where we study the path of the stars. Follow me, please. First, see this, the paths between stars, the journeys that took us to this place, and please ask questions if you have questions. Yes, we should do that, Tiberius says quietly beneath his hand. The longer we keep him talking, the more time we have to find the Cortex. Okay, who's going to the Cortex? It's going to be our main character, I think. Any questions have you before we continue? Do you have names for any of these stars? Some yes, he shrugs, others no. Much has been lost. He gestures you along, urging you to follow him. Tiber will talk. So studying this display could help your people find their way home? He blinks rapidly, surprised by your question. Some of us believe this. They come here when they have no work to stare at the changing paths, to draw their own maps and dream. Yes, dream. He pauses, gathering his thoughts.
Let's go.
We need action, so we have to leave it alone for now. We don't have an action right now. A moment, please. If you talk now, I'll forget my thinking. He stares into the changing stars. His eyes are filled with their light. I believe that the paths between the stars are too many, that we must wait for the ship. He sighs deeply. We must move along now. I'm going to open the door. You tap the symbols at random, noticing that the light between them, or behind them, goes out when you hit certain buttons in sequence. Clicks and mechanical snaps sound within the door as you work, glancing back occasionally to be sure you haven't been discovered. With no warning, the door opens. With a sizzling pop, the panel goes utterly dark and you smell burning wires. You won't be closing this door again, it seems. Whoops.
On it.
That is a cool Cortex, though. Alright, he's moving on. We're gonna move with him. Now see this, a map of another kind, a living painting of the Cortex's thoughts. Tell me more, person who we are fooling. I will explain what I can if you have any questions. It refreshes constantly. Is it changing its mind or checking if the thoughts are still there? Delight blooms across your guide's face. I wonder the same thing. He looks at the air, lips moving, composing his response. Tiber, go do something useful. A moment, please. Alright, he's doing his thinking. Alright. The sphere turns slowly, almost thoughtfully. The glow of the control panel pulses with it, warming the palms of your hands. Let's use it. You touch the console, and the warmth spreads up your arms and into your mind. At the moment of contact, a female voice speaks. Ah, and with a brief stutter, it continues in the truth. What would you like to do? You glance around, seeking the source of the voice, before you realize that it is speaking only in your head and to you alone. I'm going to ask basic information on the helm I found. That's what I really want. This helm belongs to the Jemadar Achille. She has been missing for 15 years by the reckoning of your world. It contains a visual record that she marked as being of importance. She suggested these images might be analyzed. I will do so upon your command. Do it.
Making a note.
Processing. 1 moment. Biological matter has entered into some of the helmet's contacts. I will be unable to analyze this object unless the cortex removal process has progressed to the 3rd stage. This will allow me to open the cortex housing and perform the focused scan analysis of the helmet. Fine, let's start the removal. Of course, as I note that you are a first-time user, Stage 1 requires you to assemble a pass symbol on the screen before you pull the lever on the side of the console. A jumble of small, jagged symbols tumble across the screen, as if tossed there by a careless hand. Let's do this thing. 90%, we're good. Okay. Working swiftly, you compose the small jagged shapes into a larger, unfamiliar symbol with a series of satisfying clicks. A clunk sounds in the lever's housing, and you pull it down. An excellent solution, the voice says warmly. Well done. The hum beneath the voice changes subtly. Stage 1 of the removal process has been completed. Your actions must now be verified from the control pit. Please wait. Okay, I think we might have to take just a momentary break here. We are out of time, actually, so we're going to end it here. We're going to continue this event in the next video. Like always, if you have any suggestions or comments, please leave them below. And I'll see you guys next time. Take care.